All right, Gator fans, we are live. This is a peek inside Gator football, the Collins Show edition. We've done this one other time. It was really, really fun. You guys seem to enjoy it. So we figured since some of us may have some, pent up energy to get out, but we would do it again uh, on Sunday night. So I have just gotten power, super excited. Not 100% sure if my AC didn't just blow when the power surged on,
Oh,
but let's jump right into this, okay? And before I go to my first caller, I am digging in on Coach Napier's future and a timeline. Might have an update on that sometime soon on my brand new Patreon if you'd like to check that out or just support what I'm doing. It's patreon.com/Allie Peak. Okay, so I know lots of you have some things you need to get off your chest. We're gonna go to Clint first because I know Clint has to get to something at 8:30. So we're going to go to him first, and then I'm just going to kind of work down the list. I know lots of you guys have things you need to say. So Clint, what's going on, buddy? Let's see. Hold on one second. Clint, can't hear you yet. I think TJ's got to get you on there. Hold on. Hold on one second. Working on it. Clint, I think you might be on mute. Try turning that off. All right. There we go. All right, Clint. So what do you think about what happened on Saturday?
what do I think about what happened on Saturday? I think it's just confirmation. I think it's just nail in the coffin. I mean, we've been talking about it for weeks. That regardless of your personal feelings of the man, regardless of his ability to recruit or coach positions, he's just not cut out to be a head coach at this level. Doesn't mean he won't be successful as a head coach at another level. He's proven it before at a lower level, but not in the SEC at least. Maybe even Power Four, lower tier at a Vanderbilt or something. I don't know, but definitely not at this level that we expect him to be, right? At a place like Florida with the tradition and the proven record in history. I know you said fans are pissed. Fans got things to get off their chest. I know a couple of commenters on Twitter earlier were asking if cussing was allowed and kind of thing, but I might be more leaning towards the voice of reason side, and what I mean by that is simply that I think it's very easy to criticize something like play calling when it doesn't go our way.
Yeah.
I think a lot, somebody goes for two and they make it, they're a genius. They miss it, they're an idiot. Or, they do a trick play, an end around on a 4th and 1, and we don't make it, and it looks like, oh, we need an offensive coordinator. This guy's an idiot, can't call plays. Had it broken for a touchdown, we'd all been singing praises, I think. Yeah. So I think I try to take that with but I mean, I don't think it's. I think it's a lot more than play calling. Is all I'm trying to say. I think we zero in on that a lot.
Sure.
And I think I've heard a lot of people talk about. I've had enough of guys from the Saban tree, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I would shift it if it was me. I'm gonna hang up here in a second, and I've got two questions. A comment and a question. I'm in favor of the Saban rehab program than I am the Saban tree. You look at guys like Lane Kiffin, everybody wants him. You look at guys like Sark, who have had, dips in their career before going through the Saban rehab program. But then you look at guys that we've dealt with, Muschamp, McElwain, and Napier and stuff like that, who their first bit, they came from the Saban tree to what would them to be. So I guess my question is, would you go for somebody off the rehab program, which is, closed up shop now? But then the follow-up to that is, who's going to be the next coach to, is it Kirby? Who's going to be the next person to have that quote-unquote rehab program now that Saban's retired? So those are my thoughts, and I'll leave you with that, Allie. I appreciate you having me.
All right, thanks, Clint. And, I think Kirby makes perfect sense to be the next person that has kind of that rehab program going on. I guess almost to a certain extent, he did that with his buddy Muschamp, right? And I do love, kind of the way that he he handles his coaches, and what he's doing with Muschamp is really cool. I think he allows him to coach during the week, and then he gets to go to Vanderbilt, watch his kid play on the weekends. He's gotten close with Coach Lee over there as well. So I don't know. I think Kirby could potentially do that. And yes, I would take somebody out of the Saban rehab tree. Lane Kiffin is the rehab tree, and I would absolutely take Lane Kiffin. I do think we have to be careful to zero in on somebody that we want to be the coach. Well, we still have a coach at Florida. I think lots can change. I think Lane could absolutely use this to, just get a bigger contract at Ole Miss. And we don't want to get pigeonholed to where we're not excited about whoever the next person is. But credit to this team. They are still bought in, which I think is an interesting kind of factor in all of this. I'm going to read a couple comments and then I'm going to go to Scott Frank. Up next. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Lucky Chucky wants to know, is he gone yet? Matthew Walker, congratulations on getting your power back. Now, if only Napier's play calling can be as resurgent. Y'all, I can't explain to you how excited I am to have my power back. I was not built for no power for the amount of days we've had no power for. Billy Taggart, Napier is getting fired after next month is over. We're going to see. We got some hello. We got fire his ass. Michelle, I'm sorry that you have no power. We had to hook our internet up to the generator so that we could watch the game, but I feel your pain here. Lane or Ryan Day, listen, either one of them seem like good options compared to what we're dealing with at the moment. Dan Campbell from the Lions, would he be interested in going back? I don't know. Let's see. Well, let's go to Scott first and see what Scott has to say. Scott, you got anything to get off your chest here, buddy?
Well, I mean, basically, last time I had said I was really looking for improvement.
Yeah.
I will say after the bye week, I think the defense has played incredibly well. I don't know what happened during the bye week. I know they had some special practices, how they did that, but I think the defense has played well. They gave up one legitimate long drive yesterday, which was the first score that Tennessee got. But then Lagway comes in, he throws an interception on his first pass after Mertz goes down, and they have the ball at the 20, and the defense stones them. And yes, they tie it up, but they did incredibly well. I was happy with the offense also. We rushed for more yards against Tennessee's vaunted defense than anybody has this year. And the thing that bothered me most yesterday were the offensive calls. I thought they were doing really well. I loved the way we were really manhandling them with the run game, but that 4th and inches, Lagway's a big guy, and you telegraph when you put him in the gun. He's not running the ball. The running back's not running the ball. What they're going to do, and they're going to do that jet sweep. Could it have worked? Sure, it could have worked, but you're telegraphing it, which is the problem. The first and goal with the fumble by Mertz, and just about Mertz, I think Mertz is he is what you want from a Gator player.
100%.
He came in, he gives it all, he does it right. He rooms with Lagway on the road and all this stuff. He gives everything to the program. He's gotten these 2 injuries, which I feel for the guy, but that's what I want out of a Gator player.
Yeah.
I thought the perfect call on first and goal would have been a play action pass to a tight end. We were running all over them. They're going to have to protect against that. Mertz has great touch. And we had thrown to the tight ends a bit.
Yeah.
I think that would have been great. And then, wasting the timeout when we wasted it at the end of the first half, the field goal issue on that one, that just killed me. Every time you give up something like that, it always comes back to bite you in the rear end, and it did again.
Yeah. I agree for sure.
I do have a question for you. When you were talking about how your husband always knows before the ball leaves the person's foot
Yeah.
if they've missed it, what did he see in overtime that said, oh, this isn't going to make it? I mean, what does he see?
So he's looking at the approach and he's looking at the way their foot hits the ball. And he's just done it so many times for so many years that he can literally watch their approach and know not only if they're going to make it or miss it, but if they're going to miss it, if they're going to push it, if they're going to pull it. Like he It is the most annoying thing ever to watch a football game with this man because I can't just watch it live with everybody else. I know, zero point 0.2 seconds before because he tells me. But yeah, that's what he's looking at. He's looking at how they approach the ball and how it leaves their foot.
I mean, I really like Trey Smack, but gosh, Arkansas and last night were they felt so similar.
Yeah, and
Um,
obviously you want your field goal kickers to make it all, but I mean, they marched down and scored 3 plays later a touchdown. So
well,
if you make
that's
that, it
true,
doesn't
but the
necessarily matter.
defense goes on the field.
With some
I
juice.
have to think a little bit deflated. Oh
Yeah,
gosh, if we've got 3 points, maybe they stonewall them and they hold them to three. I don't know what the mental effect of that would have been.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, and
you
truly,
know,
if we get the one at the end of the first half, we don't even go to overtime. So,
absolutely.
you know, that's which
Uh,
one. I mean, it is not Trace Mack's fault that we had an illegal substitution there. I would
no.
love
Mhm.
more clarification on that from Napier. I'm sure we won't get it, but when he says that, he had an injured player that went out there, like how is it communicated to him that he was pulled and not on that play? And is he really injured if he's trying to run out there? Like I have
Right,
so many questions. And I also don't love, even if it is 100% on a player, I personally don't love when a coach says that.
right,
I
right,
don't. And for me, all of these things in a bubble, you could blame on a player. Like, Mertz, there was a time where Mertz took a sack and he really should have thrown it away. There was the illegal formation where we had two wide receivers lined up on the line of scrimmage. Somebody would have been an illegal man downfield. You could blame them for that, but it's just the 12 men on the field. There's so many things that happen every single game that it seems at
right.
that point to become kind of systemic.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. When it comes to the coaches, I mean, personally, I think that Napier has to get to a bowl game.
Yeah,
I think he has to go 6-6. Do we have a chance against Kentucky? Yeah, we're an underdog, but I think we have a chance at home against
sure.
Kentucky. If we keep playing like we have been,
Defense
do we
plays
have a
really
chance
well.
against FSU? I think everybody has a chance against FSU.
Absolutely.
Sorry, TJ, but just my beliefs. Uh, and we're going to have to, I don't see us beating Georgia or Texas away from the swamp. So we're going to have to beat either Ole Miss
Mhm.
or LSU at home. If that happens, do I think he keeps his job? I think he probably keeps his job, but I got to tell you, I do want a really good offensive coordinator in there. But can you get one if a guy who is clearly on the hot seat calls you in and says, I'd like you to be the OC
Yeah,
here? That guy's going to be thinking about his future also. You're probably going to have to put some sort of guarantee on his contract, just to get him to come. Um, and, you know, last time you had this and I spoke, I said, I didn't know who I'd liked. I think Kiffin would be good. Kiffin recruits well. He obviously has an offense that would appeal to a number of the specialty people.
yeah,
I still want my offensive linemen coming in. I still want my defensive linemen coming in because you have to build from the lines out.
for sure.
But I want a coach that's going to be there for a decade.
Yeah,
Um, Now, one of the things, and I stayed up to watch it, and I give a shout out to LSU. I was very happy that they beat them because if Ole Miss is 9-3, and I think they have a very good chance of losing to Georgia on November 9th, then I think our chances, if we want to go after Kiffin, and I put the if on there, uh, get higher. We
yeah,
have a better opportunity if they don't make the playoffs,
sure.
and it's more palatable to get him if he's not in the playoffs because that helps with recruiting instead of waiting until after the signing date to have a coach.
Yeah.
So, do I think there's other people out there? Yeah, but I'm not smart enough to figure out who those people would be. I think Kiffin is brash enough. He, God help me, he does remind me, he does seem like a little bit of a Spurrier 2.0. Um, but I have no idea, I just don't know who the other people would be. Do you have any people who you look at as potential coaches and say, yeah, I wouldn't mind having him come here?
I mean, I wouldn't mind James Franklin. I wouldn't mind the coach. I mean, I don't know, maybe not because it's Big Ten, but I don't mind the coach from Indiana. I think that there are some names out there that could be interesting, and I do think we can look at a situation like Dan Lanning, where picking a coordinator shouldn't necessarily be off the table. I don't want Florida to be an on the job training place
Right.
by any means, but I do think we need the right guy, and that may take some research there. I'm almost more concerned about the person making the hire than the hire.
Correct. Yeah.
But all right, Scott. Well, I appreciate you. We're gonna go to
Thank you
Sheldon.
very much.
Have a good night, Scott. All right, Sheldon, are you there?
Hey, Allie, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing?
Awesome. I'm real good. Thank you for doing this again. Glad you got your power back. Glad you and Eric and the girls have that. So, hey, long time Gator. I went to my first Gator game when I was 7 years old, and my first season was 1977 for season tickets. I'm not an every game person anymore just because of season of life and just
Sure.
other things going on, but I do get to a couple of games a year. I do think this is probably our worst game day coach that I recall. Um, Will would probably be second for me, but I do think I think Billy's just a very poor game day manager. We've seen that. Um, yeah, I've got 7 games that I think in his tenure that we've lost that we win if he just doesn't have a coaching blunder that doesn't need to happen, and we don't need to relive that. Frankly, I don't want to talk about those anymore. There's a lot of comparisons. I'm up here in Northeast Florida, and we have talk radio, 24/7.
Sure.
A lot about the Jaguars, a lot about the Gators. We've got a bunch of Gator Homer radio folks, which I like. And there's a lot of comparisons up here to this being like the final year of the Ron Zook era. And I think there's a lot to that. One of the guys says quite a bit that Billy may not be the guy for Florida, but the next guy is going to have a lot of pieces in place, and that the next guy could be incredibly successful because of the things that Billy is doing. And I see that. I'm not a believer that our roster is horrible. I think
It's not. That's true.
proved I think they proved that yesterday. And if you, there was a list that came out in the summer. It was called the Blue Chip List,
Hmm.
and I don't really know the full. I probably couldn't get an A if I had to define that, but I do know we were in the top 15, and I think that means we had really good players. Now we're not Georgia, we're not Ohio State, we're not Bama, but I looked back at that list today, or one of them, and there's only 2 teams in the top 15 on that list that honestly just aren't that good this year. We're
Right.
one of them, and Auburn is the other.
Right.
Um, but what you don't see on that list is SMU or Pitt or
Right.
Indiana or Vandy. I do think more than ever in college football, the tendency for games to snowball is really high. And if you think back to that Vandy Alabama game, Vandy was really, really in control of that game, and they blew a couple of chances to put it completely out of reach. I think games can snowball big time, and I think we saw that in the Miami game. I think we saw that in the A&M game,
Yeah.
and that's just. I think we've got talent. I think the next guy is going to do very well, especially in this era of college football when you can turn it around very quickly. We saw that with the school up north. My question, by the way, I'm with you. I really like that Indiana coach. I understand he's in his 60s, which is probably,
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately a knock for
Sure.
him. but I think he's very good. Jeff Brom is somebody else that is always on the short list, it seems like. Here's my question. I know, I'm not asking you to give any, deep dark secrets, but Eric was there at the end of Ron's tenure. Am I remembering this
Yeah.
correctly? And so he kind of saw that. Can you, uh, it honestly was no mystery. We knew the second the news broke that Zook was fired, that Urban Meyer was
Sure.
coming. That was a slam dunk.
Yeah.
What is the timeline for something like this? Are conversations already happening between at least some higher up boosters with Lane Kiffin's agent, or maybe even the Indiana coach or Jeff Fromm, or do you even take a swing at a Dan Lanning, or who was it that said Dan Campbell? I kind of like that as well. What are the what's the timeline look like if a change is going to happen, which I think a change is definitely happening?
Well, I appreciate the question, Sheldon. And, here's the thing. We don't exactly know what the timeline is going to look like this year because this is going to be an experimental year for hiring coaches with the playoff situation going on. The championship game won't be played till January 20th this year, which is obviously 10 days to 14 days after when the national championship is normally played and right before what we call, late signing day, which is the less popular signing day. Early signing day has become signing day. So there's not even that many kids that won't be committed to a school at that point. And all of that's going to be really interesting to see how that kind of shakes itself out. I would hope that if a change is going to happen at UF, that the powers that be have these conversations before he is let go. So at the very least, they have a good idea of who is interested. Now, I do know with Urban Meyer, they knew he wanted to come before they even let Runzuck go. And in terms of similarities, I do see that. I think that Runzuck was actually a better recruiter than Coach Napier, but same solid recruiters, right? And they have a locker room of guys who are bought in. And, say what you want about Runzuck, but those players were bought in until the very end. And when a coach can be let go and then stay on as a lame duck coach and still keep the locker room, that definitely says something. And I'm sure he's sitting in his lake house in Ocala right now being like, wait, why does he get so many chances? And I was let go so quickly. And I brought in the number one recruiting class in the country the year before. But I do think there's some similarities there. And I think they could pull the trigger early because they did know who was going to be waiting in the wings. And so it wasn't maybe the same situation as it is right now where they really are going to have a national search. I hope conversations are happening with Lane, but I hope conversations aren't only happening with Lane because you kind of got to cast a wider net than that. But all right. Thanks, Sheldon. We're going to go to CJ now. But before I do, I am digging into Coach Napier's future and the timeline a little bit more. And I will try and update my brand new Patreon if you'd like to check that out or just support what I'm doing. It's patreon.com/Allie Peak. Whenever I get some news and information, that's where you're going to be able to find it first. CJ, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? Doing pretty good.
Yeah, feeling very grateful for the air conditioning right now. Hopefully it kicks on at some point. We're not sure if it got fried or not, but fingers crossed it didn't with the power surge. So what did you think of Saturday night's game?
Felt like a gut punch, but then I'm also, the day after you kind of have some time to digest it, and
Sure.
then you kind of feel like a little bit mixed. So I'm sure we'll all agree after the Miami game, we felt like we just been lied to all year.
Yeah.
These last 2 weeks, especially since the bye week, I think we can all agree the team definitely looks better, especially defensively. So whatever changes they made are definitely working. Tennessee is not a bad team by any stretch of the means. We should have beat them by at least 3 scores. So now in my head, I'm thinking, I've seen some other coaches, like we said, a lot of coaches that were on the list. Does Lane Kiffin still look as attractive now as he did at the beginning of the year? Does Jed Fish, after getting stomped by Iowa, who I saw Iowa scored, I think, 40 points. I didn't know that was physically possible for them to do that. Honestly. So in my head, I'm thinking has but because kids can transfer so much, like has the parity kind of caught up? Is it like just that much harder to coach? And I feel like all the coaches we've had in the last couple of years, there was always just one thing.
Yeah.
Much just needed an offensive coordinator who was competent. If he didn't waste those first 2 years trying to run power I pro form, if he would just stuck to the spread, how much
Yeah.
better would his tenure had been? If
Yeah.
McElwain would have kept a good strength and conditioning coach and then had an actual OC,
Yeah.
Muschamp's defenses, how much better could he have been? His talent evaluation was top notch. Mullen, if he just wanted to be there and not want to jump to the NFL
Yeah.
and just got a different DC, what does Florida look like now? Now we go to Billy. We all love him as a person.
Sure.
Great guy. He still has the locker room, just like you guys said, compared to Ron Zook. Obviously, the one caveat here is when Zook left, one, we did have Meyer in the wings, and we didn't have to worry about all of Zook's players transferring en masse.
Right.
Now, okay, we can say, yeah, we need Billy out here tomorrow, but now let's think about all the kids he managed to get here. Are we sure we're going to keep DJ Lagway, LJ McCray, Sharif Denson, TJ Searcy, or do we lose all of them?
Yeah.
If we fire Billy now, are we prepared to possibly be set back for another 2 to 3 years? Because we can see what's going on with our friends at Florida State. It's not looking too good with that transfer portal, having to rely on that to fill gaps for high school. His play calling is always just a handful of plays that just has you like, what were you thinking here? And that's why in my head, I'm like, we don't need Meyer or Spurrier to like come be a coach. If we can't get an OC, I would love even just for those guys, just be on the sideline. Like as Billy's coming up with plays, like, do I think Spurrier would have told Billy, hey, no, it's Tennessee. Go for 2 right here.
Yeah.
We risk it all. Scared money don't make money. Like you said, we're going for 2 right here. Or Strickland at the end of the year, tell him, hey, listen, you have to get an OC that puts up points, or this is not going to work. This is going to be your last year. I cannot defend you anymore.
Yeah.
Just one of those 2 things happens, and the defense continues to
improve.
Progress. Yeah, the improvements we've been seeing. Do we flip the conversation to where we're like, you know what? Okay, if he takes out a play calling, are we? I think we feel like a little bit better about him. I'd be willing to give him like another year because I feel like we're close. We're actually making tangible progress. So that's kind of my gripe with Billy right now.
All right, CJ, I appreciate you. We're going to go to Justin in a second. I want to read a couple super chats first, and I'll respond to what CJ said. Brian Fisher says, bring me Lane or Lincoln, one of them with DJ equals a W. I don't disagree. Let's see. I think I saw another one come through here too. Anthony Beck, it's bad enough that Florida lost the way they did, but today my damn Cowboys got stomped out. Shaking my head. Horrible football weekend for me. Sorry about that, Anthony. Not a great football weekend over here in this house either. And in terms of, Billy getting an OC, I feel like that opportunity was kind of last summer, right? We said basically, this is it. You're going to have year 3. You're going to live or die by your results here. He made the decision not to, which I kind of understand because if it is a do or die year and you feel like your play calling is what got you to where you are, I understand betting on yourself. But I do think that his hubris in all of this is kind of what has gotten us in this position. I had somebody say to me one time, somebody very close with the program who I trust, that Billy always thinks that Billy is the smartest person in the room, regardless of who else is in that room. And I think about that a lot because, there's been so many people who have said, you've got to take something off your plate, let it be play calling so that you can focus on being the head coach. And, maybe that, would have made this season somewhat different. And I agree that we look like a different team after the bye week. It just almost maybe feels like too little too late. I don't know. Let's go to Justin. Hey, Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough loss to take. Like that was extremely frustrating. Like I feel like when you get down to the goal line and stuff, I just feel like we get way too cute. I feel like we need to be used on a lot different. Let's spread them wide. When we get there to the goal line, let's spread them wide and let's stop getting in tight. We just run too much stuff try to play in a phone booth. We need to spread the field out. That's like,
Yeah. Justin, you still there?
yeah. But anyways, um, we play too much in a phone booth like this. We got Florida players. We need to play. Spread the field out and throw the ball over the field. And it just felt like, and maybe it's because Lagway's not ready, but it's like we kept the training wheels on Lagway, and that was we was throwing all the ball all over the field the past couple of games, and this game it's like we put the training wheels back on him. It's like the games that are easy, he wants to go all over the field, and we're gonna play scared money, don't make money. But then the big games, it's like he's like the modern day Charlie Pell. He's like, well, let's hold our cards close to our chests
Yeah.
in these big games, but let's sit here and these small games. I know I can just beat these teams 100-0. I'm just gonna throw it all over the place and get my skill guys involved, and I don't know. It's just complete frustration.
I agree. And we have such good weapons on offense. You think about how so many different guys, I feel like, have stepped up, and we got Wilson back and he looked good. I think Badger looked good. DK was an absolute stud last night, both on offense and on special teams. Obviously, a stable of running backs. It was sad that Montreal went down, but I think that Jacoby Jackson, did a really good job. And I am at a loss for why we don't take a few more risks. And yeah, we all bought the scared money, don't make money line, right? I mean, that was a part of the appeal of Coach Napier. And I don't know that we've seen that. I am a little concerned though, now that Mertz is hurt, that we will see even more training wheels on Lagway, because they're concerned that if he goes down, then what? And so it does make me think that they will maybe kind of put the handcuffs on him a little bit, which I don't think will help either his development or our play, but I'm interested to kind of see what happens there. Let's go next to Harrison. Hey, Harrison, how you doing?
Doing
all right?
Yeah, that was a hard one. I'll tell you that. But I kind of want to make a few points here. Ali, I've been a Gator fan since '06. The first game I ever saw was when Tebow threw 7 touchdowns against South Carolina, and since then I've been a Gator fan. But I mean, I feel like at this point the Gators just amaze me with the ways they find they just invent ways to lose football games.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm sorry, but I'm officially on the fire Napier train, because I've seen enough at this point. Like we've given him 3 years to do something, and the play calling yesterday, if we score on 2 out of those 4 red zone possessions, we win that game. I mean,
Yeah.
if we went out there and Tennessee won like 45-3 or 13, sure. But the fact that we literally had a chance to win this game and Napier's play calling let us down again is just a big example of okay, it's enough is enough. And at this point, I just don't think Napier is going to survive the year regardless of what happens, just because, again, this is another game where if Napier had just been better with play calling, we would have won this game. And again, I just don't. I mean, considering our schedule and who we have down the line, I don't know if I see a scenario. There's a good chance we might not win another game this year. And it's just like with Napier, he needs to go. Like it's too little, too late. Even if he wins the next 3 or 4 games, I mean, it's too little, too late. We gave him so many chances to get this done right. We gave him 3 years. He didn't hire an OC. And this whole offseason, was him sort of defending, yeah, I'm still calling the plays. But also, according to what I've heard, Ali, I don't know, maybe you can correct me on this or back me up, but I heard from an inside source that the boosters are not letting Scott Strickland pick the next head coach if Napier does go. I don't know. I read a report on that.
I've heard similar things to that. I'll be interested to see how it plays out, because if they keep Scott Strickland in control, it's kind of difficult to say, you're the athletic director, but you don't get to make decisions. My preference would be a new athletic director. I do think when I don't think you get to hire a third a third quarter coach. I just don't. I think he did a great job building our buildings. I think he's a great fundraiser, not for NIL, but for university pet projects. But I just don't see how you get to hire a third coach. I don't love the concept of being a program where the boosters are so influential that they decide who coaches are, because that's not their specialty, right? But these are the people that are giving the money. So, I think that they should at least be considered. I'm going to be interested to see what happens, but I'm kind of with you. Like, he's had enough time to show us. And Saturday was, when you say we found a new way to lose, we did. Like, I thought it couldn't get any more frustrating than never feeling like we were in it even for 1 second. But it might actually be more frustrating to feel like we're in it, but we would actually be killing them if we didn't continually shoot ourselves in the foot, which is what it felt like on Saturday.
Yeah, and credit to the defense. Usually our defense doesn't know what the heck they're doing out there, but the defense showed up today, and that was the worst part. Like, I was sitting there going like, "Yay, Austin Armstrong! He finally figured something out." And then it was just like, and then the offense just couldn't get. I mean, in overtime we went like -9 yards and then missed the field goal. It's like, if you go to like, you can't do that in overtime. And this is the field goal. Yeah, but no, I agree with you on wanting Scott Strickland gone. I don't like a single head coach he's ever picked. I think he picks people he likes over people who can win championships. And I think Scott Strickland needs to get out of Gainesville too.
I'm good with that. All right, let's go next to Christian. Christian, thank you so much for being so patient. You've been on here since the jump. What did you see on Saturday night?
Hey, first things first, ALI, what is up? Tell your husband, Eric, we appreciate that iconic punt in the 2006 SEC championship game that won us that, because Arkansas came back, took the lead. If you know, you know. That should
Yeah.
let you know I'm a diehard Gator. Hey, check this out. Me and you, we finna have some fun right now. We finna flip this, because everybody finna get on here, call, and talk about the same thing. Pretend I'm Billy Napier. Get all your concerns, frustrations, lay it on me, and I'm gonna give you, and I'm gonna tell you what he would say. Go ahead, throw it on me. All the miscues, anything you saw.
Will this get my frustration out, or will you give me a Billy Napier answer that makes me more frustrated? Okay, first off, I need to know what happened at the end of the first half on that field goal, the illegal substitution penalty.
Well, it was a total lack of focus. You see what I'm doing, man? It was a total just lack of focus on our half. No, that special teams blunder, I would say, and I'm speaking as if I'm Billy Napier, what he would say to you. It was. I'm blaming it on one of our guys, man. Yeah, they. I don't know. It was one of our guys. He was supposed to get subbed in. That 12th man that was on the field. It's not on me. You got to blame the guy. Next question.
Okay, so first drive of the game, it is 3rd and 11, and you call a play that's only good for 7 yards, but then you don't go for it on 4th down when it's 4th and 4. What were you thinking there?
We just didn't have another play. We just didn't have another play in mind, and honestly, the only thing I can say to you is I didn't expect that play to work, so that's why we punted it. Next question.
All right, so you're going to go for 2. You come out in some crazy trick play, and then Tennessee burns
Yes.
the timeout, which you knew they had.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what were you thinking there?
Again, we just didn't have another play in mind. We had one. Well, excuse me, I'm lying. We had one play in mind. We liked the look of it, but I don't know. I'm not a competent head coach. I didn't have a series of other plays in mind, so we just had one. Next question. I'm gonna give you about 3 more questions.
Coach Napier, I thank you for your honesty here. What were you thinking not running DJ Lagway when it was 4th and inches?
Oh man. You mean the sweep to Trey Wilson? That what you're talking about?
Trying to get it to the edge.
Oh man.
Getting the inch and a half you needed forward with your 240-pound quarterback.
Oh man, and it wasn't even an inch. Honestly, it looked like a centimeter. It was a bad spot, but
not fall backwards, and you would have had the first down.
Yeah, man. Again, that's on the players. Next question.
All right. I so appreciate you, Christian. That was fun. You're right. It didn't make me frustrated. It was fun. I actually wish we would hear some more honesty out of Coach Napier at these press conferences, but I digress. All right, bud. I appreciate you. We're gonna go next to Daniel Hunt. What's going on, Daniel?
Hey, can you hear me?
Turn off your mute, I think.
Can you hear me now? Oh,
Daniel, you there?
hello? Can you see me?
Still can't hear you, bud. I can see that you're talking, but I can't hear you.
Oh man, come on now. Hello? Can you hear me?
All right, I can see your. All right, hit refresh. Our producer says hit refresh and see if that works. I'm going to come back to you. All right, Gator Will, I'm going to jump over to you. What's going on, bud? All right, you're on mute too. I can see your little mute thing, so hit that. All right, gotcha, Gator Will. What's going on?
There we go. Can you?
Yep, I can hear you now.
How you doing, Allie?
I'm good. How are you?
Um, uh, I'm a little frustrated, just like everybody else. Allie, I have a quick question to ask you.
Sure.
What some of the guys from, let's see, '06, '08, '96, the Steve Spurriers, the people who actually built this thing from the ground up. What are some of those guys, the Brandon Spikes, the Percy Harvins, the all those guys, including your husband, that built this thing up from ground zero to what it is now? Championships, SEC championships. I mean, title, all that stuff. What are some of those guys feeling when they look at the Gator program now? Like, has your husband has he talked to other players? Like, have they express how they feel, like what they're seeing, and how this program is being ran into oblivion? I mean, 1-9 against SEC play. I mean, it's just all the wrong records.
Yeah.
How are they responding? Have you heard anything?
Well, so we go every home game. We go to the F Club, which is kind of the Florida letter winners room that's in the stadium, and there's tons of guys that played with Eric or played in the '06 team or the '96 team, and they're all frustrated. And I think that they all like Napier as a person, and so that makes them conflicted because Gator always, and they want to support the program, but they also don't feel like it's headed in the right direction. And I think a lot of them have shown frustration in the last couple of years about what they perceive as lack of toughness. I will say, I don't think that's what we've seen the last couple of weeks, but I think in general, we have seen that in this team. And I think a lack of organization and the same mistakes being made over and over again. We think as normal fans that it's frustrating to us. It is 10 times more frustrating to them because they know the kind of work that goes into not making those mistakes on game day. And I think a lot of them feel like, okay, so we're not practicing in the way that we're supposed to because we wouldn't be making these mistakes on game day if we were.
Gotcha. Two things. Shout out to Grand Mertz. That kid is a warrior. I had my concerns and doubts, and a little bit of hiccups here and there and stuff like that. But that kid, he has given his all, despite whatever we may think about him, whatever conclusion we come up with. That kid has given his all to Gator Nation. So,
Yeah.
and second thing, I. That gentleman that was interviewing you as well, him as Billy Napier, he forgot to interpretate ultimately, because Billy Napier is so hinged on saying ultimately all the time. I just wanted to get that out there. So,
Ultimately,
absolutely.
though, we got a locker room of good people. So I guess we can hang our hat on that. Gator Will, I appreciate you. Daniel, let's try you again. Let's see if we can make this work this time. All right, hold on one second. Let's see. TJ's going to switch over to you. All right. I still can't hear you.
oh my
Oh, wait,
God.
yes. Now I can hear you. I got you.
Okay, great.
All
Yeah.
right.
Hey, how you doing? I watch your show like every week, really all week. So I love your show. I'm been a great Gator fan for about really since like 2005, and I love the Gators. I'm a diehard Gator fan. I have a little bit different opinion on Billy Napier, because I've watched us over the last 3 years, and I want to say, of course, his first year, um, those weren't his guys, like straight up. And then his second year, it was more so the defense. Graham Mertz played outstanding really the whole year. We was in some games strictly because of Graham Mertz. So when it came down to it, the defense just didn't hold up their end, and that came to play because of the defense depth. I mean, it
Yeah.
comes. Yeah, we were not deep last year.
Yeah.
There's only one game, one loss this year. 100% coaching, and that's the Miami game. He did not have those guys ready to play in Miami. Play Miami. The second loss, I think, is 50% players, 50% coaching. And this one, I put it all on the players. I say that because Billy Napier, to me, I feel like he called a great game. He had us marching down the field, and the defense played great. And
The
he
defense.
can't do anything. He can't do anything about Graham Mertz fumbling at the goal line. He can't do it. The one play that I say that see, I played quarterback. So the play with Eugene Wilson, that was actually an option play.
Right.
DJ Lagway had the option to pull it and to run it if he saw something that he liked. And Eugene Wilson is our best offensive playmaker, correct?
He is.
Okay, so he only had one player to beat. Everybody else was accounted for.
Yeah.
So if he breaks that, more than likely he may even take it 10, 15 yards or maybe even have a touchdown. So yeah, he probably should. I would have called maybe a quarterback sneak with DJ Lagway in the game. But I see it basically made the defense think. I want Tennessee. That may be the best defense their defense is the best defense I've seen in the last 10 years. Tennessee defense really was outstanding, and I think Billy Napier probably showed a little bit too much respect for that defense with some of his play calling, trying to make them think, and that put us at a disadvantage on some of the plays that he called.
Well, I think overcomplicating it is kind of something that a lot of people have had a gripe about Napier with, right? That he has just kind of overcomplicated the offense. But, and I understand what you're saying about Wilson. I just feel like you have a 240-pound quarterback and you need an inch, right?
Right.
All you have to do is fall forward and you have a first down. I think, he has weapons, but I think maybe one of my bigger gripes about his play calling is he wants his playmakers to have to make a play to get the first down. Whereas I would prefer the second they catch it, they've gotten the first down, right? Like we throw the ball behind the sticks so often. I don't know.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
So do you really believe Lane Kiffin is the answer?
I don't know, but I believe that Coach Napier is not the answer. And so while I agree with the general sentiment that you devalue the job when you're getting rid of a coach every 2 to 3 years, I also don't think we've shown any progress. I would be totally good with progress. It doesn't have to be perfection, right? But there is not a single statistical category where we can point to say we're better in year 3 than we were in year 1, outside of having improved our talent. But we've improved our talent, but we haven't improved any statistical category. So in theory, we got worse then, right? If we got better players, but we didn't improve statistically,
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
only say I'm not completely on it. I think it's harder to find a coach, especially to coach the Florida Gators, because we are really hard on our team. Like we expect greatness. You know what I'm saying? We show up. Like since he's been there, they've packed the stadium out. But Lane Kiffin has had better talent.
Yeah.
And over the last 5 years, he has one bowl win, and he's 3-3. He has the same record as us, and he's been ranked all season. I'm not saying not saying Lane Kiffin can't come in and do better than what Billy Napier is doing, but I believe that we should actually slow down on it and let the season play out to like 8-9 games before we start saying, okay, it's time for another coach. Tennessee, they've gotten better since the bye week.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can respect that take. I can be willing to wait it out. I don't know that there's some huge benefit to it happening today versus happening a few weeks down the road. And I do think the biggest linchpin in that decision should be whether or not the locker room is bought in, and they are. They are fighting for Coach Napier. They are, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, getting better. I just don't know if it's at a fast enough clip to save his job, and I don't know if it's a fast enough clip to overcome some of the game day blunders that we have repeatedly seen for the last 3 years. I do think, I don't know that I think it's fair to say Lane Kiffin has every year that he's been at Ole Miss had better talent than Florida. He may today, but when he got there, he didn't. And that took time to build. And he is very good at the transfer portal. And I think there's a chance he's looking at this roster and saying, man, if I just get a few linemen in here, maybe a DB or two, we can win 10 games. And, that's pretty appealing as a Gator fan. But Daniel, I appreciate you. I'm going to go to Barron next. Barron, how you doing tonight?
Hi, Allie. Can you hear me?
Barron,
Hi,
you there?
can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
I think you might be. Let's see. Are you on mute? I'm trying to. Nope, not on mute.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Let me see.
Okay.
Refresh your screen, and then you should be good to go.
Okay.
And while you refresh, I'm going to go to Jimmy real quick. Jimmy, how you doing? Make sure you hit the unmute there. All right. Struggling with you too, Jimmy. Oh, no. All right. Try talking, Jimmy. You there?
Hey, how we doing?
Okay, gotcha. Good. How are you?
Hey, what do we think about Cliff Kingsbury?
I'm not opposed. Score a lot of points, right?
Yeah, so I think we got an offensive issue, right? We don't so much have a defensive issue.
Yeah.
And if you watch today, you would see like there's a spread offense. It's quick tempo. It's like it's poetry in motion. So I'm thinking Cliff Kingsbury could be a great answer. I don't think the players are playing for Billy. I think they're playing for themselves. I feel like they're playing for recognition. I think it's just a turnaround. I don't really feel like it's like I'm playing for Billy thing. I really don't feel that way. I truly don't. I think it's more of a, hey, listen, we're on live TV and we got to be better than this. And that's just truly what it is.
Yeah.
This whole playing for Billy thing, that thing is stretched out. It's just too far. I don't buy it. I think the players, as look at the players, they're like, yo, everybody knows this guy is almost out of here. There's no playing for this guy no more. Get out of here. I just truly believe they're playing for themselves. They're playing like, hey, listen, we just got to turn it around. And I think we got an answer. I don't think it's Lane. I truly don't, because Lane is a little wild. But if you look at Cliff, a little calm, he's a little cool.
Yeah.
And spread the offense around. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, well, that's a little wild card nobody's thinking about. But that's just my little 2 cents. I think the defense just playing for themselves. Offense just needs somebody who puts us in the right position because Billy ain't it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think the next head coach needs to be an offensive minded guy. I think that that's where Florida will be the most successful. And, whether they're playing for themselves or they're playing for Billy, at least they're playing. We've got UCF getting guys opting out here, left and right. Florida's not experiencing that. And I think that's a positive. Let's go to Barron next. Let's see if we can make it work this time. Barron, how you doing?
Hi, Allie. Can you hear me?
Oh, let's try it. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see. Turn your volume up for me. Let's see if we can make this work.
All right. Can you hear me now? Oh dear.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Can you hear me?
Try refreshing one more time, and we'll go back to you as soon as you hop in there.
Nope.
All right, let's go to Barron. My producer
can you
says he hears you, so I'm so confused as to how he can hear you
cool.
and I cannot.
Let me keep trying. Can you hear me?
Oh, and all of the guys here are saying they can hear you too. Dang it. Let's see. Okay, let's try this. You tell me what your thoughts were on Saturday night, and I'm going to have my producer just send it to me.
Okay. Well, so basically, my question is, and I'll just kind of make this quick, is it seemed like change was coming after the Texas A&M game, but now since then, especially after last night's blunder, it's like radio silence. And I'm just trying to figure out, where's the leadership in our administration, and why is it that they were so quick to fire Mullen, who went to 3 New Year's Six bowl games, had one bad year. I mean, a Mullen, everybody says he quit. Well, a Mullen that quit is still better than what we're getting right now. So why fire a successful coach? Be so quick to fire a successful coach, but then turn around and just drag your feet on this guy who he just can't get anything going. And then on top of that, it's like, I mean, where's the leadership? You've got them talking about doing stadium renovations that are going to reduce seating, whereas everybody else in the SEC is investing, and trying to make more seating in their stadiums, more money. I mean, everything. What is going on with the leadership? Where's the leadership at? Yep.
All right, Baron. So basically, what my producer sent me is that you basically were saying that it seemed like change was coming after Texas A&M, and now it's been kind of radio silent. And I agree. I want to know where the leadership is from this administration as well, and that's why I keep kind of harping on the fact that it can't just be a change for Napier. Otherwise, we're going to be back in this situation in the next 2 to 3 years. I think there needs to be some real change higher up in the administration, and maybe not just the athletic director as well. I think there's probably more shakeup in the UAA that needs to happen. We obviously need a president in place as well. And I also agree that we were so quick to fire Dan Mullen. I think that's a little different because I think that they just very much felt like he was absolutely checked out, and they don't feel like Napier is checked out. But listen, Muschamp, Zook, all these guys are sitting here wanting to know, like, wait a minute, why was my leash so short and his leash is so long? And, I don't know if money is a large portion of it. We will owe him a large buyout. If he makes it to the end of this year, that number does decrease by kind of a lot. So I don't know if that's what they're waiting for. And listen, I hate the renovations too. I don't need a fancy stadium. I need to be with 90,000 of my friends, and it just needs to be ADA compliant and safe for everybody to be there. If I wanted to sit in a luxury box, I'd have a luxury box. I want to be in the stands with as many Gator fans as humanly possible. I don't need an NFL stadium. Honestly, I want what makes college football great, which are stadiums like the Swamp. Let's go ahead and go to George next. I don't know why you guys can hear everybody and some people I can't. I don't know. My power did just come back on. I don't know if my internet's being wonky, but let's see if we can make it work with George. Hey, George, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Allie? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. I got you.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
All right. So tell me, what were your thoughts on Saturday night?
Honestly, I'm on Gator Quest 80, so a lot of my thoughts are always on X. A lot of I'm a lot of the Twitter Spaces and stuff. So it was just incompetence. I see frustration. Just overall like disorder in regards. This is a game. And honestly, Allie, I put on X. I asked a lot of the media to please ask this question in Monday's press conference. Sir, do you know what a rivalry game is? Because clearly, I don't care. You give us coach speak. When you're 1-9, you don't. When you have 9 months to prepare for a in-state rival. I live in South Florida, so you could imagine. A lot of my friends, a lot of people I know are Cane fans. They are season ticket holders to a stadium they can't even fill up capacity unless Florida State or us are playing. So I mess with them all the time. So it's very frustrating, Allie, when you tell us, yes, we know what this game is. Tennessee, we know what this game is. Miami, we know what this other game is. No, you don't, when your record clearly doesn't show that. Right. So it's just a bunch of frustration, especially when you have 4, drives in the red zone and you come up with 3 points. I saw a lot of, honestly, Ellie, I saw a lot of vibes of the last Miami game when we played them in the Hard Rock when Muschamp was our coach. Remember Driscoll, 6 turnovers. We kick field goals in that game. That's a winnable game. That game we win. If we controlled the whole time, the whole game, and we lost that game because of turnovers. So it's just, at a matter of fact, that like a lot of the Gators I'm listening to speaking previously, no, you fire him now and you fire him now, quick. He's gonna lose to Kentucky. You have a bye. Get rid of him. And I'm all aboard on the Lane train because I think with the talent we have, I think Lane would, he would kind of use. He seems to me like the modern day Spurrier. He's a little spicy. He's willing to rifle feathers. And honestly, I don't mind having an a-hole for a coach because this is This is show business. It is not show friends. And at the end of the day, yes, I value this man's Christian values and great. And 25 years from now, people will get together. But guess what? People don't get together for failures. You get together for championships, and you're not going to get that with this guy.
Yeah, I agree. I just I think that losing to your rivals is going to get you fired quicker than your overall record, and he is 1-9 against the teams that Florida considers
Yes.
rivals, and it's not good enough.
Yes.
It's
And Allie, remember, if he loses to Kentucky this time, he's going to be 0-3 to Kentucky. When's the last Gator coach to ever be 0-3 to Kentucky? So that's all I got to say.
Very long time. Appreciate you, George. Let's go to Justin. Hey, Justin, how you doing? Let me see. All right, Justin. Okay, there you go. Now I can hear you. Okay, tell me what you said. I couldn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just saying thank you. I've never joined the show. I appreciate you letting me on. I'm a big Gator fan from Boston, and I'll be down there next week. I'm flying down Thursday. Me and my wife have been going down the past 3 years. I went to the LSU game with AR. I went to the Tennessee game last year, and I'll be at Kentucky. But I just want to say, man, we need something. We need something. There's some things when you watch them games, it's like I'm rooting for Billy.
Yeah.
Super rooting for Billy. I just came in from a fishing trip, and I'm watching out fishing. I'm like, man, like some of them calls, like some of the decisions he makes, you're like, oh, just pull your hair out. And like I said, I've been riding the Billy train for a while. I don't know, man. It's like we need something. I don't know what it is. I don't like. Is Lane Kiffin gonna come? He has a sweet spot in Ole Miss. Like,
yeah.
We need something. I mean, like I said, I don't know what it is, and I've been riding with Billy, but man, it's the SEC is so competitive, and especially with the transfer portal, like we need to get with the times. There's no more messing around. Like, I don't know. Gators are a great team. I follow all the way from Boston. You know what I mean? And like we need something.
Yeah, I think we do. And, I love the growth that the defense has shown the last couple of weeks. But it makes me wonder, like, what changed and why did it take this long to happen? I'm glad that we're seeing it. And, but it does make me concerned. He talks about, in the bye week, we had competitive practices. Why in the world were you not having competitive practices before? You're losing games. Every job should be up for grabs. So every practice should be good on good because you're trying to figure out the best players to help you accomplish the mission, which is winning games. And it feels like the job is too big for him.
Yeah, he shot himself in the foot at halftime. Like what happened at halftime? Like,
yeah,
we had a chance to, make another play, and then a coaching mishap lets the clock run off. It was just like,
yeah.
Oh man, like I don't know.
We are really not good at the middle eight. So the last 4 minutes going into halftime and the first 4 minutes coming out of halftime. And I don't know that there's a game in 3 years where he has won that middle eight window. And I think that is part of our issue. And it's really important to overall wins. And it's just not something that we have figured out a way to create momentum for. And it is frustrating. Saturday was so frustrating to me because on one hand, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a team that is hanging with the top 10 opponent in Neyland Stadium at night. This is awesome. And then it's like, how are we not winning? This is ridiculous. Like, we should be killing this team. We should have won by 2 to 3 scores. It was such a weird feeling. We're much improved, but also shooting ourselves in the foot over and over again.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. But I really appreciate you guys letting me on, and maybe I'll see you guys this weekend at a tailgate. We'll be flying down Thursday, so go Gators, baby.
All right, well, go Gators. All right, guys, before I end this, I did want to read one. I got a message from Max, and he said, I was having a discussion with Gator fans earlier today, and to me, the question really is, what would it take for you to trust Napier again? He's been too stubborn and shown a lack of growth. Like, even if we were going to win out, which we won't, this is what he's saying, would you even trust him then? If it was fluky looking, I don't think I would. It would have to be winning out and looking like a completely different product than we've seen at any point so far. consistently. So if that's how folks feel, then he just lost the fan base beyond saving? And that's a good question. What would it take for everybody to still be bought in? I think 6 wins probably saves his job from a university administration standpoint, but I don't think it saves it from a fan standpoint unless we really are seeing progress. I do think that Florida's defense has turned a corner the last couple of games. Will that continue? I don't know. And in terms of turning a corner, I think it's more the defensive line and the linebackers that did, not the DBs as much. If Nico was accurate at all, those wide receivers got behind our DBs all night long. Nico just couldn't hit them. So, I don't know how much of that is good defense or how much of that is Nico's not maybe as advertised. I've got to see us not making the same continual mistakes over and over again. It is wildly frustrating to watch, that field goal going into halftime and it just feeling so reminiscent of the Arkansas game last year, and watching, I could get behind going for 2 or going for 1 at the end of that game, but come up with your plan and stick with it. It was maddening to watch how that worked. And then it was maddening to hear the press conference, him say like, well, we had a play we liked and then they called a timeout. You knew they were going to call a timeout. That's not you. They had timeouts. It was towards the end of regulation. They're going to call a timeout. So I don't know. I think if there's maybe PR might be the thing that Billy does the absolute worst. So maybe if he could figure out a way to win us over from the press conferences and get some more wins, that would help. But guys, I appreciate all of you hopping on with me tonight. This was fun. It was cathartic. I feel like I got to get a little bit off my chest. I hope you did too. It's Kentucky Hate Week. We will have a whole bunch of content coming your way this week. I also will throw things on my Patreon channel if you guys have any interest in hearing a little bit, ahead of the curve, or, just supporting the channel. It's patreon.com/Allie Peak. But I will see you guys tomorrow with more Florida, Kentucky info. So hope you guys have a good night, and thank you so much for joining. And as always, go Gators.